Layla is our new 4-star cryo unit in Genshin Impact 3.2. Layla operates as a cryo shield and support unit, but don't let her sleepy girl disease fool you, she can pack quite the punch as well. In today's video, we'll be going over the best weapons, artifacts, and team comps for her, as well as what makes her so unique compared to our other lovely cryo shield and healer, Diona. As for Layla's playstyle and talents, Layla is intended to be a pure shield support unit that offers passive damage and cryo application through both her elemental skill and her elemental burst. But there are multiple ways to play such a flexible character. While her primary goal is to offer a tanky shield and allow for off-field damage similar to our beloved Electro characters like Fischl, Yae Miko, and Shinobu, Layla's shield, like many other shielders, scales off of HP. So if you're looking to run a pure shield bot, running triple HP on her artifacts would be what you'd want to do. While Diona is similar in supplying cryo application and a shield, where Diona heals, Layla inflicts damage. And while our young bartender has amazing synergy in multiple teams, it's necessary to point out that Layla's C0 shield is similar to and could even surpass C5 Diona. And while you would lose healing if you replaced Diona with Layla, in let's say a Morgana team comp, you'd gain damage. In the case of running her as an offensive support option, which is my preferred playstyle, I'd say building her as a sub DPS or with a hybrid build would optimize her kit the most. Whether one is better than the other in your personal gameplay is dependent on what you're more comfortable with and what playstyle you prefer. As for Layla's elemental skill, casting it deals cryo damage in an AoE around her and can deal passive damage based off of her max HP through night stars that are formed by her shield. The damage absorption of Layla's shield is based off of her max HP, while also absorbing about 250% of cryo damage. When the shield is deployed, Layla will have cryo applied to her briefly. The shield duration and cooldown of her skill are exactly 12 seconds, meaning you could have 100% uptime if planned properly. The night stars formed by her shield accumulate every 1.5 seconds, and when other party members use their elemental skill, 2 stars are created. When the max of 4 stars have been created, they shoot outwards from her shield and auto-target the closest enemy. If enemies are grouped closely enough together, the night stars can also deal splash damage. However, if all 4 hit the same enemy, only the first applies cryo and procs 1 to 2 energy particles. If the shield breaks or dissolves before you have 4 night stars, they will dissolve and not inflict any damage. Layla's skill does not generate energy upon the initial cast, meaning she'll be unlikely to receive any of her own cryo particles, thus leading energy recharge to be an important substat for her build. Moving on to Layla's elemental burst, it applies cryo and inflicts cryo damage within the large AoE that her burst casts at the center of a dazzling moon and Starmobile overhead. Naturally, her burst has a standard ICD, meaning her burst applies cryo every 3 seconds or every other hit. Similar to her skill, her burst has a 12-second uptime and cooldown. Ideally, you'd want to use her skill and burst at the same time, as her burst triples the generation speeds of her night stars within her shield. Layla's passive talent, like Nascent Light, when her shield is active, her deep sleep effect will activate, causing shield strength to increase by 6% each time her shield gains a night star. This effect can stack up to a maximum of 4 times. In this case, for talent priority, you would want to prioritize her skill first for shield utility, then her burst, and finally her normal attack. Moving on to Constellations, Layla's first constellation, Fortress of Fantasy, boosts her shield efficacy and absorption by a solid 20%. In addition to the increase in shield strength, her shield will also apply to nearby party members with 35% of the original efficacy. Next would be her Constellation 2, Lights Remit. When the night stars that form from Layla's shield hit an enemy, it generates 1 energy for our sweet, sleepy student. Moving on to Layla's third constellation, Secrets of the Night. This increases her elemental skill level by 3, and again can greatly increase her shield efficacy. Next would be Layla's fourth constellation, Starry Illumination. When Layla's shield begins to shoot the night stars that form, party members will obtain the Dawn Star effect, which will increase their normal and charged attack damage by 5% of Layla's max HP. Similar to her second constellation, this also applies to party members in co-op. Next would be her 5th constellation, which again increases the level of her elemental burst by 3, thus leading her maximum upgrade level to be 15. Upon activating her 6th constellation, Layla's Night Stars formed by her elemental skill's shield, as well as the Starlight Slugs formed by her elemental burst, will deal 40% more damage. Additionally, the Night Star generation speed from her shield is decreased by 20% or down to every 1.2 seconds, allowing for more frequent cryo application. Moving on to artifacts, starting with 4-piece sets. From what I've gathered, the 4-piece Tenacity of the Millilith set would be Layla's best in slot for both a shield bot build and a hybrid build. Layla perfectly utilizes the HP percent increase for the 2-piece passive, as well as a 4-piece passive where party members' attack and shield strength is increased, allowing this to be procced while off field. Alternatively, you can run Layla on a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer if you plan on running her as a main DPS or damage dealer. It's also feasible to run a 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate, however this will purely boost her energy recharge and burst damage. Her skill and subsequently her shield won't benefit from this set too much. 4-piece Noblesse would also be beneficial to run if you don't have anyone else on your team running the 4-piece set. As a 4-piece passive doesn't stack, you wouldn't benefit from having more than one character run this set. Moving on to 2-piece sets, alternatively you could run a 2-piece Blizzard Strayer and 2-piece Tenacity of the Millilith, either if you're having a hard time getting a 4-piece for either set, or again if you want a bit more personal damage on her. And of course, leading to artifact stats, you would want to run an HP Sands, a Cryo Damage or HP Goblet, and a Crit Rate, Crit Damage or HP Circlet, again depending on the build you'd rather run on her. As for focusing on artifact substats, you'll want to focus on HP percent, crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, and flat HP. And as for weapons, you could run what I believe her best in slot is, Favonius Sword, which allows her to generate particles for herself and accommodate for her energy recharge needs. Favonius Sword also allows her to act a bit more as a battery as well if you plan on running her as a hybrid sub-support. Another option for her energy recharge problems would be Sacrificial Sword. Would be good to run if you need ER, however she doesn't really benefit from the passive due to the cooldown and runtime of her skill matching perfectly, and she doesn't generate particles upon casting her skill. Festering Desire would also be a good all-rounder weapon, supplying her with ER, additional skill damage, and crit rate to her skill. However, it is an older limited weapon, but if you have it, feel free to use it. Moving on to 5-star weapons, the Primordial Jade Cutter would be a good sword to run due to its high crit rate and HP bonus. However, with a freeze team comp, it might cause her crit rate to overcap. Next would be our only 5-star HP sword, the Key of Kajni Suit, which shares and buffs EM across the team based off of the wielder's max HP, making it perfect to use if you're running reactionary team comps. If you do plan on running Layla as a main DPS, the Harbinger of Dawn would be pretty great to use if you can maintain her passive, as it supplies you with a large amount of crit damage and crit rate. This is recommended for personal damage only and if running her with a healer. And lastly, a good beginner/low AR placeholder as you play throughout the game due to its high ER main stat would be Skyrider Sword. Moving to team comps, Layla can work well as a generalist shielder for a multitude of teams as long as her cryo application and damage doesn't interrupt the elemental reactions you're aiming for. Because of her 12-second cooldown, Layla can be used well in a variety of teams that have both shorter and longer rotations. In a freeze team comp, Layla can be a constant source of cryo application that can kick off and maintain consistent cryo application while triggering frozen. In this case, I'm using a main cryo DPS like Ayaka, Kaya, or Ganyu, an Animo unit like Kazuha, Sucrose, or Venti for crowd control, a Hydra unit like Shingcho or Yelan for Hydra application, though that slot can also be given to Kokomi if you need a healer, and lastly Layla in the 4th slot. Next would be a Morgana team comp, which is typically Ganyu, Mona, Venti, and Diona, which you can easily replace Diona with Layla for tougher shields and additional damage where you wouldn't need healing. Layla's 12-second cooldown has great synergy with this team's 15-second rotation. Using 3 cryo units and a Geo or Animo in your 4th slot as a flex would lead you to using a Mono-Cryo team comp. Having Shenhe in this team would be a no-brainer as she supply the cryo members with a huge boost to damage, including Layla herself. Next would be a Fridge team comp, which helps aid in crowd control for your Bloom team, allowing the enemies to be grouped up with an Animo unit and frozen for a concentrated area of Bloom reactions that proc more consistently. though you will want to run a healer in this team like Kokomi or Cookie Shinobu for a Hyper Fridge team comp, as you'd want to avoid Layla's shield dissolving before the end of her cooldown. Anyway, that'll be it for me on this Layla guide. Layla is a solid shield support who's easy to understand and extremely flexible in the possible teams she can be run in. It's no wonder that tall tales of her sleepwalking eccentric have been flowing through the academia like water. Let me know in the comments if you pulled for Layla and how you plan on using her. If this guide helped at all, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more build guides in the future, and I'll see you again soon!